Hello, all you scaredy cats and kittens, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostest. I'm Stacie.
And I'm Kara.
So, Kara, what did you do these past couple of weeks? I know last time we talked, we were kind of going into the 4th of July holiday. Oh, Sam's birthday was happening, and we were heading into the July 4th weekend. So, what did you do? Anything cool over the past couple weeks?
Nope.
Nothing? Oh, come on.
I mean, we had a grill out for the 4th.
That's nice.
Normal stuff.
Fun.
Fire and whatnot.
Cool. Yeah, I've been...
Our pool party.
Yeah, that sounded
I don't remember if I talked about it.
I don't think you did. Because it...
But we rented a pool for like 2 hours.
That sounds like fun.
After they closed, so it was just us. I mean, it was fun. They had a deep end, so we were all just jumping into the deep end on the diving pool.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the diving board and stuff. Cool.
Which you don't normally get to do that normally,
right.
Unless you have a pool.
How many people did you guys ended up showing up?
Maybe 15.
Okay,
20 of us.
That's a good size group.
Yeah, oh my gosh, one of our friends came up with he was he had limes, and he was putting limes in Coronas because he brought a cutting board in a cooler.
Wait, were you guys allowed drinking
and
there
he was using
or
what
not?
he called...
I didn't think, most places won't let you drink there. Were they letting you drink there?
It's weird the way that it's said you can bring your own drinks, but it doesn't specify what kind of drinks.
I see.
So we're just trying to be discreet about it. I mean, I feel like...
Probably a good call. I mean, as long as you weren't being obnoxious and about it and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, considering the lifeguards were playing in the pool when we weren't in that pool. Because we were in the other pools.
That's funny.
I think they weren't caring.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, it was fun.
That was nice. Oh, we went to the Brown's house on the 4th they had their usual 4th of July picnic thing that they do. So we got to go swimming and all. Everybody was wondering where you were, asking about you. But while we were there, so we lit off some fireworks, okay, because of Mr. Ohm passing away. We wanted to do something in his memory. And originally we were going to do those Chinese lanterns that you light and they go up in the air. But apparently, and we didn't know this until we started doing that, they're actually banned. You're not allowed to let them off anymore.
Yeah, I think it's bad for the environment.
Yeah, because apparently they set building structures on fire. If they land on your roof, it could set it on fire. And so...
Yeah.
We were all worried and concerned that if we let one off and it caught anything on fire, you know what I mean? They'd figure out we did it, and we didn't want to have to deal with all that. So we put Mrs. Raleigh already bought the things and everything. I felt bad for her because she'd already bought them, thinking that we were going to light them off. But then we talked about it and we're like, I don't know. So, we ended up instead me and Dad went and got some fireworks. And so we started letting these fireworks off, and we got some really nice ones. It was $50 for one of the fireworks that we had, and we were getting worried. We started off, we were letting them off at the end of Mr. Brown's driveway. You know how it's basically where we live at. People is a subdivision, and one end of where they lived is a cul-de-sac. If you keep going, it dead ends into a cul-de-sac. And there's tons of houses on either side, and there was all kinds of cars because everybody was having parties that night. So we were concerned we were going to end up, having it land on people's cars and, putting dents in them. And I get that. So we thought, we were like, Mr. Brown okayed it. And he's like, well, let's just try a couple and see what happens. So we started lighting off a couple of them, and let's just say things didn't go as what we thought they would. I mean,
oh my gosh,
they went up in the sky, but when they came back down, they were raining on all the grandkids were there, Sammy's kids and Ryan's kids and everybody, and Amber's kids, and so they were raining down on all the kids. So, and we didn't like that, so we Kristen had bought some fireworks also from Kroger. It was a little $12 pack that had a bunch of fountains in it. Okay. And after we lit off the really nice ones that, go up in the sky, and one of them did a smiley face and all this, we lit those off, and the kids are all screaming, lame, this is lame. Where's the good fireworks?
Oh my goodness.
And then Dad was getting booed by the neighbor across the street because he went to the fountains or whatever. So we decided that then that we needed to stop and reevaluate. So we talked about it, and we were either going to come down into our backyard because we've let them off back there before, and it's such an open space that it, it won't hurt nobody's,
yeah, it's a lot
cars, right? It's a lot more open. So we're going to let him off in our backyard, which would have been fine. But Mr. Raleigh offered his side yard, which was better too, because he does have that really huge open area there. So that's what we settled on, because it was just easier. Everybody could walk down, and they didn't have to, come through the backyard and worry about the dog poo and all that. So we did it in his side yard, and it turned out. Oh, but the ending was really awesome, though. That one turned out really cool. That was the $50 one. It was really neat. It was like really bright. It was like the ones you see at the fireworks shows. So that was really cool. But
no cops were called?
No, thank God, because nothing caught on fire or anything. But there were a lot going off like all over the neighborhood. Like I said, I mean, after the our town usually has the fireworks at the recreational center, and it's like right down the hill from our house, so we can see them from like, well, you know this, Kara, but we can see them from the backside of our neighborhood. And so everybody waited until they were done doing theirs, and then everybody like all around here just started letting them off.
Shooting their off.
Yes,
again.
it was crazy how many people were letting them off. I think that's the most fireworks I've ever seen in a long while around here. So we did that. That was fun. We had a blast. Sam's birthday was the week before, so we took him out to eat for dinner. And he got to get a steak, so he was excited about that. And then what else?
Oh, I bet.
And then what else I had to take Grandma. Oh, wait. Okay, so I have something to tell you. Okay, so first, I had to take Grandma and Jake both had eye doctor's appointments for two different, like, Jake's was because his glass contacts finally came in, or his hard contacts came in because he had a really bad eye problem where his retina detached, so they had to reattach it and all that. But his hard contacts came in. Remember, they wanted to try hard. The soft ones he wasn't being able to see very well. He was seeing better, but not as well as he wanted to. He said these things are amazing. He said it's the crystal clearest he's ever seen in his life. But the doctor, she actually made them herself, which I thought was crazy. Well, when she made these, she only had like a 40% scan of his eye, and they needed, like, she said she usually likes like at least 80% to make sure they fit in his eye really good and give him the best, clearest vision that he can have. Because essentially it's like a lens, like an eyeglass lens to see out of. So it's specifically made to your eye specifications. And she said it was a little bit off, so she wanted to make them the right way. So she took a bunch of pictures, and now she's got the right thing. So we have to go in a couple weeks to go have the new ones retried back on him. But anyway, he really likes these hard ones. He says they're they make his sight really good, which is great. So good for him. So hopefully we've come to the end of this whole saga with his eyes. It started back in like January of this year, and we can finally move on, and he can drive again. Yay! He finally has been able to drive his car. So that's a miracle in itself. Yay. But anyway, so I also had to take Grandma for her eye. She had to have some laser surgery done on her eye because she had scar tissue coming in. She had to have she had cataract surgery, and I guess there was some scar tissue in there. So they had to go in and zap it away to make it so it'll be clear for her or whatever. So we did that. It took like 5 minutes. So I'm with her, and she's like, she goes, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, yeah, what? She goes, let me show you these pictures I took the other night when I was outside. She goes, the strangest thing happened to me. She's like, I was outside working on my plants, because she always does this. She works outside at like 1 a.m. in the morning on her plants because it's cooler then. Only Grandma. What? I know. Only Grandma would work outside at 1 a.m. with, working on plants. But she said while she was out there, she said there was this light that was like following her, like while she was doing stuff.
What?
Yeah. No, I have to get the pictures from her. I meant to get them before I left her house, but I forgot. I was going to have her send them to me. But anyway, I saw them. I looked at them for a while because I had time while she was getting operated on. But anyway, so she showed me these pictures, and she took like several of them. It's not like she just took one and she was done. She was smart, and she took at least 6 or 7. And she told me that this thing, she said it kept following her where she was in the yard. And she's like, well, at first I thought, well, maybe it was an airplane, but it's not high enough up in the sky to be an airplane, if that makes sense. And it's not like, it doesn't look like a normal airplane light. It's like a globe shaped almost. And it's like this kind of blue color when you look at it in her phone. And well, here's the weird thing. It shifted around each time she took the photo and she's standing in the same spot. Each time she took the photo, this thing was moving, and it's moving like around her or near her or whatever. But so she took pictures of all that and she showed me, and I don't know, man, it's pretty crazy stuff what she had on there. And she's like, Stacie, I swear at one point I thought it looked like it might be a spaceship or something. I'm like, ugh.
I thought it was what? Grandma got visited by an alien?
I don't know. That's what she's saying. I don't know. I'll have to look at it some more. But that's not the only time she's had this happen to her. She's had it happen to her before.
Why is she going out at 1 a.m. in the first place?
That's what I want to know. I'm like, Grandma, stop going outside at 1 a.m. and then you won't see weird stuff. Well, wait, it gets crazier. You know, I told you this before, that Grandma had told me once before that her and Grandpa had been hearing like things in their house, like strange things have been happening. Well, she told me just this past, what day was I? Last Tuesday, sorry. But anyway, we were talking and she's like, Stacie, she goes, I'm getting really worried. She's like, I've been hearing strange things in the house again. And she's like, it's really weird. She goes, I woke up the other morning. She said it was like 3 a.m. She got woken up because she heard a noise. And she goes, it sounded like something making a sound like woo woo, woo woo, or something like that. She said it sounded really weird. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, so then I went and got Grandpa, so he could come, see if he could hear it too. So Grandpa got up, and I guess he could. Grandpa's, by the way, my dad is pretty deaf. So if he could hear it, it must be pretty loud, whatever this noise is that they're hearing. So he got up, and he also heard it. And then she said it sounded like somebody had turned on the radio. Okay, and this part was weird because we had the same experience happen to us. She said it sounded like somebody turned on a radio and there were people talking, but it sounded very tinny and like they were far away, but like they were in the same room with you, if that makes sense. Like they were coming through over the radio, but she didn't have the radio or TV or anything on. And I said, oh my gosh, like me and Kara had that same thing happen to us. Do you remember that when we were in Pittsburgh and that creepy Victorian house?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when we were in that room and we could hear like voices talking, but everybody in the house was asleep and there was like nobody outside, because I looked out the window after we heard it and it sounded like somebody was talking on the radio, but like not on the radio, if that makes, you know what I mean? It sounded really weird. So she said she had that same thing happen to her. And then she was telling me that she's seen a black shadow in the house. And I'm like, what?
What is going on with Grandma?
I don't know.
Seeing shadow people, aliens.
I don't know. But
is this like recent?
What?
Like all of
this? Yes. All of this happened like within the past 2 weeks. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, what?
We need to go ghost hunt her house.
I know.
And
that's
stay
what
up till 1 a.m. with her and go to the garden.
Right? I'm like, okay, Grandma, me and Kara on the case. I'm like,
we're in on it.
We'll investigate. But she's like telling me all that. I'm like, this is nuts. And she's like, yeah, I saw a shadow. I've seen it a couple times now. And she said, at first I thought it was your dad, but she said it wasn't him. And then I thought maybe it was a cat, but it was like a human, not a cat, that she had seen. And she said the cat was laying right next to me, so it wasn't Drew. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, obviously she's a little spooked. So I'm like, okay. This is bizarre. Then I was like, well, have you brought anything new into the house? Because my first thought was, well, maybe she brought in something haunted. Because Grandma likes to buy strange stuff from places. And she's like, no, the only thing that we've bought recently, and I was with her when she bought it, was these, like they go on the top of bottles or like cork bottle decorative things. But a couple of them look like they were new, if that makes, like they, you know what I mean? Like they were just made, like, you know what I mean? Like it was something made recently. It wasn't old or antique-y looking. Or maybe whatever's in the house could be pissed because she's moved everything all around in her house the past 2 weeks. Because she was supposed to be getting...
Recently? Oh, okay.
Yes. She was supposed to be getting
I bet there's a bunch of haunted stuff in her house and she keeps moving it.
I'm wondering, and if it was mad at her, because she was like, yeah, she's like, they'd been moving stuff around because they were supposed to be getting that new carpet. Well, if you go into their family room, she has like, she's taken out her coffee table. That whole huge bookshelf on the back wall is like empty. There's like nothing in it. You know how she had all those knickknacks and pictures and all that? She's taken that all out. She's emptied out everything on the thing in the kitchen. So they, when they come to do the stuff, it's easier for them to move around to get into that room. And I'm like, okay, but why are we doing this so far in advance of when you're going to have this done? So I don't know if she's like upset. I don't know. It's so weird. And she's usually pretty even keel about that kind of stuff. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I know. That's weird.
Telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. But she has those pictures. I need to get them off her phone when I see her next time, and I'll have to send to you to show you. Because they were pretty strange photos. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is this? Because you could clearly see the moon, but then there was this other like ball of light or whatever you want to call it. And it wasn't like really high up in the sky. It was almost to the top of a house. So we've ruled out that it was like an airplane or something. And then she's like, well, maybe it was a drone. And I'm like, but Mom, why would a drone be out at 3 a.m.? And second of all, when you see drones, though, it's not a huge ball of light like this is. It's usually just like a little red or green dot on the bottom of it. You know what I'm talking about when you look up at it? This was like a whole ball of light. It was very strange. So we're going to have to go. It looks like we're going to have to do an investigation at Grandma.
Oh, my goodness.
I guess so. She's done. I don't know what she's like. Can you bring your stuff with you next time you come down? I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Hey, at least this is great for the podcast. We got real content.
I know, right? Oh my God, the saga of Grandma and her ghost and aliens. I mean, geez Louise. I mean, she had told me once before that she had felt like that. Maybe it was probably like last year, I want to say. Yeah, it was last fall, maybe last spring. She never mentioned it ever again. I was just like, okay, so maybe it was just her mind playing tricks on her. But when she mentions this, the thing happening again, and now she has pictures of it, and I told her, I said, if this happens again in the next, take photos for us.
That's crazy.
Please.
This is video. I want a video of it. Tell her to pull out her phone and take a video.
She did have video on there too. She had several photos, and she has video. So I will, like I said, I will get those off her phone. I meant to get them before I left Tuesday, but I was in a hurry to get out of there because I was already there like way longer than I ever wanted to be. So, all right. That's my cool story about the paranormal for this week from my mom and her adventures with whatever's going on at her house down in Kentucky. So we'll have to get the photos. And
I think it's all the objects, because she has so much
it has to
stuff.
Be something like that. It has to be. Well, okay, but here's another thing, and they've known this. The land that their house is built on, okay, that land used to be all forest, and it was woods, and there was like a waterfall back there, apparently, from what I've been told from the other kids in the neighborhood when I was little.
Oh.
And at one point, Indians were living back there, or in that area. So it could be. Yeah, so it could be Native American related. I don't know, but it could definitely be Native American related. So I guess we'll have to wait and find out and see what's going on. I need to do a little more research into that, but that the kids were not the only ones. I'd also heard that from other people, like parents and, adults that lived in that neighborhood, that used to be, the Indians back in the day used to live back there or whatever, or had a camp tribe, whatever you want to call it back there. At one point. So that was interesting. So I don't know what's going on at her house. So I'll have to keep you guys updated on what's going on. Hopefully I'll have more to share. Might not be next time. Yeah, and I'll have photos. Might not be next time, but it'll definitely be before August. Keep listening so you can find out what's going on with my mom and her.
She's gonna get abducted by an alien. Why is she gardening at 1 a.m.? That's what I want to know.
Cooler than she tells me. I'm like,
I know. At 1 a.m, why not at like night?
Hey,
it's still the same temperature.
Agree, but it's Grandma. She stays up really late. I mean, she's all messed up.
She's always been a night owl. I remember she would take me grocery shopping at 2 a.m.
Nothing like a 2 a.m. grocery trip to Walmart with Grandma. Yes, I know.
Yeah. She's like, no one's there then. It's perfect.
It's
and I was like, okay, Grandma.
But yeah. So, yeah. Grandma's funny too. She's like, when I go out there and they, because this happened. Okay, by the way, this happened like 2 nights in a row. She got pictures of the same thing 2 nights in a row.
2 nights in a row? What the
Yes,
heck?
of the glowing light. And
Yeah.
and it appears the same way.
Hopefully
And
she's not about to die.
I don't know. And she told
I'm
it
just
that
saying.
I know. Well, she told it she believes in it. You know, she knows that they're
What?
real and she believes in them. Yes,
Wait,
that's
she
what
was
she
talking
said.
to it?
Yes, that's what she said. Like, she just, she muttered it into the air, so it wouldn't abduct her. She didn't want to be abducted. So she thought she would let it know that, she didn't have any ill will towards it or anything. So I don't know. Now she's communicating with aliens. I have no idea what's going on, Kara.
What the heck?
I don't know. So, yeah. So that's what's been going on around here. All right. So this week, because Kara went last week and hers was really long and mine's pretty long this week, I will be sharing our story this week. So this week, we are going to be talking about the Poltergeist House. And this is not the Poltergeist House from here in America. This one is actually from over in Britain. Okay. So in Britain sits an unassuming house on the Shire estate in Pontefract. This home was abandoned in the 1970s by the family who lived there after the horrific treatment of their daughter, Diane Pritchard. The home has not been lived in since then. The house is said to be haunted by a demonic entity and a poltergeist, which people have been calling Fred. There's lots of activities associated with Fred. Objects have been moved, lights are being switched on and off, there are bumps and noises in the hallway, and objects will disappear and reappear in different places. People are getting smacked and hit. I mean, all kinds of stuff is going on with this entity. So this poltergeist, as some people claim it is, but others think it's a demon. But there's also apparently a little girl ghost that lives there too, and we'll get to that in a minute. So this poltergeist that is said to be haunting this house is known as Fred. Now, Fred is said to supposedly drug the girl Diane up the stairs by her hair, and this entity left visible finger marks on her neck. Fred, yeah, like crazy, like stuff. Like people watched her, like she felt like there was something on the back of her neck, and she went to turn around or to like swat at it, and the next thing you know, she was like flipped over onto her back and drug up the stairs. Like her hair was like, like it looked like somebody was dragging her up the steps by her hair.
That's weird.
Yeah. And he also left visible finger marks on her neck. Like he was trying to like maybe strangle her or something. They're not entirely sure why the finger marks were on her neck, but she, like the next day, she had these raised finger marks on her neck that looked like he was trying to strangle her. Fred also was said to conduct them, like to be like a conductor in a music, using a pair of jeans gloves, okay? So apparently what was happening is the family at one point, and I'll talk about this more in depth, called in a priest, okay? And the priest thought it would be a good idea if they sang like a religious song. So they were singing a religious song, and as the family started singing it, Fred had a pair of jean gloves and started conducting them while they were singing the song. So they were sitting looking at these gloves moving in the air without any arms or anything on them.
Huh.
So this guy is like pretty crazy.
Yes.
So Fred has also left guests with cigarette burns on their body, and he once supposedly broke a man's leg. Now there's some speculation about what happened when the dude broke his leg, and that story, like I said, I'm going to tell that story more towards the end when the Pritchards left the house, and the house was taken over by a paranormal group, and they were using it to, but they were letting people take tours of the house. And on one of the tours, somebody got hurt. Here's the weird thing. So after all that happened, they say that he's actually not a poltergeist, but he's a demonic presence, okay? And they say that people in the house will see a 7-foot tall black monk walking around the house, and they say that that's Fred. Like somebody just started calling him Fred for whatever reason, but it's actually this black monk who terrorized the Pritchard family, and he still apparently haunts the home. So the story goes that there was a history of these monks living in Pontefract, and they were part of the Pontefract Priory, and this was founded in 1090. Now, over the years, several urban legends have circulated about this monk. Apparently, the monk's name was Brother Michael, and the story goes that he had murdered a young girl, and he was hung for his crime outside the council house. Now, apparently, I guess in Britain, I don't know if, I'm not 100% sure, but from what I read, this is what I gather. That in Britain, back in the day, each, instead of like a township like we live in, or like a city like, most people live in, they would live in these boroughs or whatever they were, or different provinces or areas. And they had these council homes. And these council homes are where these people were elected to be in charge of that whole area, okay, per se. And they could tell you whether or not you were allowed to move from your house. They could tell you whether or not they would make up all the laws and rules for that particular village or whatever it was called there in England. So, starting in 1966, reports started coming in about strange and spooky happenings since the family moved into the home, since the Pritchards moved to this home. It was a family of 4, Jean and Joe, and then their children, Philip, who was 15 at the time, and Diane, who was 12. It all started when Jean and Joe took Diane on a trip, and they left their son, Philip, home with the grandma. Nothing happened the first few days while the other family members were gone. But then the first strange thing that happened was a fine powder, like chalk dust, started falling from like midair. Like they could see this powdery dust just falling down while they were in the house. And there was like no source for it. There's like no wind, no gust. There was no like,
just asbestos.
Sometimes in your homes you have like air ducts up in the ceiling. It could be, I don't know. Maybe it was making them hallucinate all that. We don't know. But anyway, so there was all this stuff like coming, like this dust falling midair, okay? Then their water in their kitchen began to pool on the kitchen floor, causing puddles that refilled after being mopped. So like their kitchen sink would turn on, the sink would overflow, and they would have puddles of water just start appearing on their floor. So the grandma would mop them up thinking, oh, somebody left the water running for too long. And she would mop them up. And then when she would mop them up, the puddle would reappear again out of nowhere. Like there's no water source for there to have been water there. Weird. So they had that going on. And then on that same night, a heavy chest of drawers began moving on its own. I don't know about you, but at that point, I would have been running out of the house. So the grandma had enough at this point, and her and Philip spent the night with another relative that lived down the road. Jean and Joe returned home with Diane and didn't believe anything the grandma had told them, and because they did not believe in the supernatural either. So they thought that there must be some logical explanation for why all this is happening to the house, for why there's like water that just magically appears on the floor. So from this point on, things really started escalating quickly because now you have these 2 people back in the home that don't believe what's going on. So they're not feeding into the the energy in the house. And the entity or whatever's getting mad because nobody's, they're not reacting to it. So green foam started oozing from the taps, the family's taps. And nobody could figure out why it was all this green foam was coming out of the house. And they reported it to the counselor, because they wanted to move. And they told him, no, they couldn't move, that, just deal with it, just have a plumber come fix it or whatever. Family photos would be slashed, and including the parents' wedding photo was slashed. Like somebody had taken a knife through it and just slashed it. Furniture would move and bang around all on its own. Doors were slamming at random times. Random objects would fly through the air. And at one point, a grandfather clock fell over and then started moving down the steps on its own.
What?
Like, I would have been like, see you later, I'm out of here. Like, why would you stay with all that going on? Especially the weird grandfather clock thing. That's just
the
strange
buckets
to
with
me.
mysterious liquids refilling.
Yeah, right? I know. I'm like, ugh, I don't know. So after this, Jean and Joe's skepticism begins to falter. Obviously, now they're a little freaked out because, this isn't normal stuff that goes on in your home. So there was constant, loud, aggressive knocking on the walls and doors inside the property to the point that they were having a hard time sleeping at night because it was just so aggressively loud. Bed sheets were tore off the bed. Furniture would crash around. And this was all while these poor people were trying to live and sleep in this place. So Joe went and told his neighbors and friends about what was going on, and they connected him with a ghost hunter. So at a loss, Joe decided he was going to contact said ghost hunter. So the ghost hunter comes and he stays a night there and witnesses some of the stuff, and he declares that they have a poltergeist. And he tells them that the poltergeist is neither a ghost nor a demon, but a buildup of uncontrolled psychic energy. And he told them it would wear itself off and go away eventually. And after the ghost hunter left, though, things totally went to hell at that point. Pictures were no longer being slashed. They were leaping off the walls, like being thrown at people when they would walk into rooms. Sofas would slide across the room with people on them. Okay, I don't know about you, but if the sofa I'm sitting on is moving and it's not from an earthquake, I'm out of there. I don't want to be on be in a house when something is that strong that it can move me on a sofa.
Where do you go, though?
That's scary.
That's the thing, is like, what do you do?
I know, and that's the problem, because the town council or whatever they called wouldn't let them move, and that was the other problem. It's like they were trapped in this nightmare. So plants would jump out of their pots, and they had a tea dispenser sitting on the kitchen counter, apparently, and this would burst open and dump the tea all over the counter because they're in Britain, and Brits like their tea. They all have to have their tea. So, that was making them mad. So it was the daughter, though, that the poltergeist was mostly focused on, or at least that's how it appeared. The first time this happened, it happened one night while she was in bed. She was pulled from the bed and thrown on the floor, okay? So she started screaming for her parents, and they came up. So another time, she was at the bottom of the steps, and this is the story where I was telling you before about how she got pulled up the steps by her hair. When she felt her hair stand on end, she was confused, and she went to turn around, but was thrown to the floor and then dragged violently up the steps.
Oh.
Not long after that happened, she had red bruises and welts appearing on her neck, where I told you that entity or whatever it is had touched her. Next, the Pritchards went to a priest. Okay, so now we had to go involve the Catholics, and we're going to get the priest, and asked him to do an exorcism on the house. As soon as the priest performed the rite of the ritual of exorcism, the whole house started making noises, and it shook from from the rafters all the way down to the basement. It sounded like bowling balls were rolling on the roof, and it sounded like the house was going to collapse on them. A candlestick rose in the air and hung in front of the priest. The priest ended up running from the house, so scared, screaming that it was an evil spirit that was inside the house. Now, that was not the first time they had called a priest to come do a exorcism on the house. They had several other exorcisms were performed by priests, and each one ended in an even more chaos. One time, holy water ran down the walls as the priest was doing his exorcism. People had their faces slapped and were pushed down the steps. Joanne's sister had a jug full of milk dumped on her head one time when she was sitting eating in the kitchen. An upside down cross would seemingly appear on the walls with blood. So the council at this time was still refusing to let this family move from this home despite all the other people that have witnessed this. They've had priests come in and talk about their testimony. They had the paranormal guy come in and tell them they've had friends. They had the sister there that got milk dumped on her. They were all there in the families, with the family, telling them what was going on, and the council still refused to let this poor family move. The family decided at this point that they were going to name the poltergeist Fred, and it would respond to its new name. So now, we've given this poltergeist a name, which just means that you're making it even stronger than what it already was. And now it responds to its name when you talk to it. So that's not good. So Fred was also known as the Black Monk after Jean and John woke up one night to see a tall figure in a black hooded robe standing at the end of their bed. Many people say that they have seen a young girl ghost around the house also, and she likes to play with dolls and other things. Now, some people believe, though, that the little girl ghosts that people are seeing are actually a demon that's projecting itself to be, you know how that is. They'll project themselves to be a little girl to try and lure you in. So after all this happened, the family did finally move out. It was like 73, 4 maybe, that they moved out of the house, and they never went back. They basically left most of their belongings and just left because
I don't blame them.
And they didn't care if the council was going to find them a new house or not. They just decided they were done after everything they experienced. And I'm with you. I do not blame them at all. I mean, I'm surprised they stayed as long as they did, because quite frankly, some of the stuff that happened, I don't know that I would have the stomach to sit there and deal with all that. Yeah. The constant barrage of, you know what I mean? All that stuff going on.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
So it says today, ghost tours of 30 East Drive happen most weekends, Thursday through Sunday, and you can even spend the night there if you dare. I actually happened to look this up. They had I found a video about this place, and I looked it up, and they had, they were talking about it, and they were showing some of the tours and stuff, but people still on these tours have had things happen to them, like somebody got burnt by a cigarette butt, even though they weren't smoking a cigarette. People have been pushed when they're in the house. One other paranormal investigator stayed there one night, just to see. They stayed till like 3 a.m. And he said that they woke up at 1 a.m. because, it felt really weird in the house. And they looked at him, and another person was with him. They looked up and they saw a black figure, and it was like really 7 feet tall, and it looked like a monk that was standing, right over them near the room. And at that point, they left. They were done with, staying overnight. But yeah, lots of people have had experiences in this place. They say if you go on one of the tours that they offer, don't be surprised if you have things happen to you.
Yeah.
And this is over in Britain.
Britain? Very far away.
Yeah. Good old Britain. Yeah. I don't know if we ever make it to Britain. I think we're going to have to go.
Maybe. There's like a million other places that it's haunted over there, I feel like.
I know. I think everything over there. At some point, everything.
I think it's just because it's so old. There's a lot more history.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's probably why America's not nearly as haunted, because we don't have so much. So it's not so old. You know what I mean? It's so much newer than England and all that is.
I mean, what we have is the Appalachians. That's about as haunted as you can get. But that's because it was the first places that we settled too, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and not only that, you also had the Native Americans living here doing their thing.
I meant like
they did
us Americans coming in. You know what I mean?
No. Oh, no. I know what you mean.
I'm not saying that there wasn't already stuff going on, but I don't think it helped when we came in.
All the witchcraft trials and all that, that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's what I'm talking about this week. Again, that it's actually called the Poltergeist House. If you're interested, look it up. It's in Pontefract, West Yorkshire. And the address is 30 East Drive. Oh, okay. And I forgot to say that there was a movie that is based off this called When the Lights Went Out. And I believe it's on Amazon Prime. So you have to check it out, because I think I actually watched this movie.
When the lights go out.
Yeah, there is a movie based off of this, what happened to this family. It's called When the Lights Went Out.
For some reason, I kept thinking it was like the Poltergeist movie.
No. But you know what? Funny you should mention that. I was watching an episode of ghost hunters, and they actually got to go into the Poltergeist house, and they brought with them, they talked to one of the characters from the movie, or they had one of the people from that made the movie or whatever was there. Anyway, they brought a medium in with them, and they think they made contact with the little girl that played Carol Ann. Like, her spirit is in the house, apparently. So they say. Among all the dead Indian bones that they found and, buried in the pool. Or that they used for the pool that were actually real bones. You did hear about all that, right? With the Poltergeist movie and all that? Yeah, because you know what they did? They brought in all the bones and they had them sitting in the house.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Just asking for disaster.
They were like real cadaver bones. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? I guess they wanted to make it look more authentic. The people that own the house now, though, they say that they've had lots of stuff happen. She didn't realize what house it was when she bought it. I'm like, how can you not know?
Wouldn't you look it into it? Don't they have to disclose that?
I feel like they do.
I think they,
but
at least in America.
Actually,
I don't know if they do in Britain, but
you have to. If somebody died in a house, yes, you do have to put that on the papers. But I don't think that anybody died in the house.
I think you have to say that
that were connected haunted, to that movie died. Oh, do you?
I don't think you can be like, hey, just so you know, it's people. The last owner said it was haunted. We have to disclose this or whatever.
Huh.
Obviously, people
I know you have
don't
to
believe
disclose if somebody died.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to look into it for next time.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. But yeah, so that's all I have today. I thought that was really cool when I started researching this about this house.
Well, also, some people want to buy a haunted house.
I know some people.
That's why I'm saying, like, sometimes it's not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, it just depends on if, like, you're Zach Baggins, you want to buy a haunted house,
Well, that ended up backfiring on him. Remember with that demon house in Indiana?
Yeah, the one. I remember that whole thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it way backfired on him.
Apparently, it's based off of the state. Some states make you have to disclose it, but some don't.
Yeah. It says Ohio, there is no legal requirement for sellers to disclose if someone has died in a house, regardless of the cause of death, whether it was natural causes, murder, suicide, etc. However, sellers are obligated to discuss any facts that could significantly affect the property's value or buyer's decision. What does that mean? Like, what would seriously affect somebody buying the house?
If it's haunted, it might affect someone.
But are you going to admit that your house is haunted to somebody if you're trying to get rid of it?
I wonder if they can sue you if you didn't disclose it.
I don't know. But if by law you don't have to, then I don't think you can sue them because you don't have the legal grounds to, right? I mean, because legally you don't have a leg to stand on. I don't know. If anybody knows any of this information, if they could let us know, we're dying to know the answer to that. Like, our question is, do you have to disclose if somebody died in your house? And if you don't disclose it, can somebody, and something bad happens to, like, the family that moves in, can they sue somebody for that? I don't know. That's a very interesting question. I guess we'll have to see if anybody can help us out on that. But anyway, that's all I have this week for us.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed the podcast today, please be sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Two Scaredy Cats Podcast. And don't forget to leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show get discovered. And tune in 2 weeks for our next episode. And to all our scaredy cat and kittens out there, remember, curiosity didn't kill these two scaredy cats.